Live from Austin, Texas, this is the Plutopia News Network Happy Hour. Our guests this evening, our friend entertainment professional Bon Davis, the not ready for player, can't even talk, not ready for cable news players are here. Susie Sheeler, Maggie Duvall, me, old what's his name, and our designated hitter and pitcher tonight, John Lebkowski.
Oh, do I have to pitch?
I think that's what you usually do. You have a
Well, what should I
fastball?
pitch? I'm trying to figure it out.
Here, let me. I'll be catcher, and I'll give you your signal. Yeah, let's go for a fastball.
Have you got your glove?
it,
Okay, well,
it's virtual.
our guest tonight is Bon Davis, who is a longtime friend and was part of the original Plutopia organization that staged various events, which were produced by Maggie mostly et al. And Bon is an entertainment industry professional. And what have you been working on, Bon? What would you like to talk about?
Most recently, I was a small part of a show at the Vortex Theater that was pretty interesting because it was a show, right? And people went to it and they attended it. So I'm sure everybody's wondering how the heck that worked. And
Absolutely.
it worked very well, but basically it was there was a virtual component to it, but it was live drive-by theater. So it was
You
staged.
just kind of drove by with binoculars, or?
No, they drove by, and the perfect vision. Well, first of all, what was the play about? Funny you should ask. It was the Odyssey. So it was Odysseus's journey through the underworld, but you went on Odysseus's journey, which is kind of perfect for a drive-by theater because there's all these different locations that are well scoped out. And so the participants, they used an application on their phone. And if they didn't have a phone or for some reason weren't able to do that, there was a CD that they could play. And if all else failed, we had a Bluetooth speaker set up and various sound systems at each location so they could roll the window down. But the idea was that the window could be up and they could be in their own little car bubble with the people that they had came with and decided whether they were wearing masks or not. And that was also going to give the performers some distance from the audience members for safety's sake and all that. So they drove location to location and heard a little 3-minute performance and went on to the next one. And everybody seemed to enjoy it that I saw. There were reviews, which of course I do not read, but I think in general, like the mechanics of it, the application and internet connections and which version of which OS you have and so on and so forth. There were some technical issues I would call, but we had workarounds in place and everybody was smiling. And of course they were just happy to be out and going to a show, right?
Yeah. How was it configured with the drive-by? Because you're used to going to the theater itself. Was this spread out throughout the East Austin area, or how did that work?
Yeah, so you started at the Vortex Theater and got checked in and checked out on the application. And the application is called Rave, which is a whole nother story. So when people were being invited to raves every 10 minutes, I really, as someone who was involved in that scene and produced some of those parties in Austin, this is not a rave. And if it is, it's not a very fun one. So anyway, they got invited to a rave when they came to the location. 3 or 4 of the locations were on the Vortex property. And then they drove, really less than 2 or 3 minutes to the next location. And there were little signs, and part of the performance track explained to take a left here and take a right on Chicone and go immediately into the driveway. So there was a little bit of navigating and treasure hunt aspect to it, definitely. So I think there were, I'm going to say there were 11 locations.
It sounds like
That's very cool.
It sounds like a blast, but how long did it take for somebody to drive through?
Maybe 2 hours, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly, but it was it was not quite Wagnerian in its length, but close. And I mean, you guys know, but I come from a stage theater background, so I've done ballets, which are usually about 45 minutes to an hour and a half of performance, and I've done operas, which, well, you know, they could be longer than a pandemic.
Well, I know you studied Mayan archaeology when you were in school. Was there any connection between what you studied in school and what you do now as your career?
Well, yeah. So basically, what I studied is called legitimation of authority, and I started out with a classics background. So you know, I've read the Homer and the Iliad and the Aeneid and all of that stuff. So that was why the show is interesting. But the thing is, the legitimation of theater and the legitimation of authority. I stumbled a bit there, but it's basically how the guy on top of the pyramid convinces everybody else that he's the one that should be up there. So there's a lot of ritual performance that we study in anthropology, and in archaeology we see performance as well. We see big costumes and dressing up as gods and impersonators and all that sort of stuff. So I would say that that's you know that's one connection. But I did grow up in a theater family, so it was natural.
Well, the obvious question on Bon is, did you lose any audience since they're having to follow directions? Some people are better at that than others.
Yes, Scoop. People did get lost along the way, but that is the nature of an odyssey, isn't it? And we don't know whether they were seduced by the sirens, dashed upon the rocks of hope or despair, and probably a few ones after two or three different islands, maybe they just decided it wasn't for them and they drove away.
A touch of reality then.
Yeah.
So where did the inspiration for the, you know, so the group that came together, like where did the inspiration come from in the sense of like who posited the idea and then like how did it kind of explode from there? It sounds like that anyway.
As I said, I'm kind of a bit player, so I don't know like how this all started, but I mean the Vortex, certainly they've done a lot of different cutting edge things and been pretty aware of classical mythology as well as creating new mythologies. So I can see it as a good fit, but I don't know the specific creative process that led to all of this. I just, you know, I was talking to Dave Damaris that you guys know, and I was pretty excited to hear that there was something going on. And as somebody who does live events and virtual events, conferences and trade shows and business meetings, it seemed like a good time to try out some new technology and see how it played out in the field. So I was pretty excited to jump in that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Any chance you'll do Divine Comedy one time?
That's a good idea, but I don't know. They have their next show up is called Selfie, and it's one they tried to schedule that previously, but you know the thing shut down, so they're doing a virtual showing of that.
Awesome. I like the idea of the treasure hunt and the journey.
Yeah, there were some like little clues you could pick up at each location, so that's people always love a treasure hunt.
Well, Bon, you've been involved with Local 205 for a long time, and that is a challenged business. Now, how are things on the ground there? Because it's challenging for anyone in entertainment.
Yeah, so we are basically all unemployed. That's the simple way to put it. And I would, I don't want to I could make up numbers, but I would be surprised if 20% of our workforce is employed now. Films and TV are going, but crew sizes are greatly reduced. I just did a business meeting at a local large venue that you probably know. I typically don't go into details about all that, but they had no audience members. They had their speakers, live, live cameramen and workers were there, but it was a very, very small crew. So like I got 5 hours of the load in and 5 hours of the load out. And I've had a day or two before that here and there. So we're trying to be very active about supporting other initiatives at this point. And specifically, one is called Push for 600. So we had a demonstration on Congress Avenue with empty road cases and pushing the road cases from the Paramount, one of the venues we used to work at, up to the front of the Capitol building up Congress Avenue. And we got a good deal of media attention about that, and that's scheduled to happen again. And the Push for 600, of course, is an attempt to raise awareness that our legislature, which had time to go on vacation before signing any bills, maybe they should be at work and trying to save the economy and people that would love to go back to work.
The city has, been floating these ideas of their $15 million fund for venues and legacy businesses. But as I understand it, you folks weren't on the menu there.
No, I don't think those things are really, they're good and we need them, but it's just not enough. There's not enough money to put into people's pockets that are, we're living on unemployment, and that runs out eventually for people. And it's not, it's not enough to pay your bills and your health care and all that sort of stuff. So the extra $600 on top of it, that helped quite a bit. There's also this weekend, it's Save Our Venues concert. So it's the National Independent Venues Association, and that's a virtual concert, but it's filmed at many venues all over the country that are in danger of closing. The Parish here in town is one venue that's being used. Tipitina's in New Orleans, several others around the country. So there's a big push, and that's the part of the Save Our Venues Act is part of the New Heroes Act that hopefully will be passed.
Let me grab this. Is this it? I am wondering, is this what we're talking about?
Pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, good work, John. So the
And
lineup is really good on this, and you see like the little logo there above Save Our Stages. It says NIVA, but I just think they could make that much more prominent. That's the National Independent Venues Association,
which is these guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. Whoop.
They're the sponsor of it, and
there they are.
yeah, there they are.
2,000 independent venues in 50 states.
So, Bon, these are the non-live, whatever
Correct.
they're calling their whatever Live Nation mega corporation venues. These are the real ones.
Yeah, and they don't have the deep pockets like some of those large organizations do. So they don't have a slush fund.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my friends on the West Coast that I've worked with are getting creative with doing things like drive-in theater shows where they bring a staging company out, sound and a little bit of lights, and people are socially distanced, but at least they're able to get their crews and their gear out there and staying afloat, because a number of sound companies I used to work with have disappeared. They're gone. They sold their gear and they had to go retire.
Have there been efforts? Are you still on the IATSE board in town, Bon? Or
I'm assistant business agent.
Uh-huh.
But, I basically I still have the position, but I don't have the work. We have very little work. Most of the work that we have coming through our hiring hall now is construction industry, theater retrofits, and construction.
Well, have there been efforts by IATSE, whether locally or regionally or nationally, to kind of brainstorm, like, you know, what else can we do? Like, how could we help each other or whatever, anything like that?
Well, we're lobbying pretty hard. So there's that locally at the city level and nationally too. And also we've made the international has made a set of safe working protocols, COVID related industry safe working protocols, and that's not just the IATSE. It's in conjunction with other industry organizations for the entertainment. It's pretty in depth. I have read through it. I don't think I'm qualified to speak on it right now, but I have read through it. And I mean, most of it is a lot of it is common sense, but the thing too is that you need designated individuals at all stages of it, and a lot of reporting needs to be done in written plans rather than, oh, we're just going to be safe while we're out there. So I think more in answer to your question, the idea is to find ways to get back to work safely. We also have put a lot of effort into education. There's quite a lot of webinars and training. So like, use the time productively, get some training in. And I personally, like, I see much more tendency towards virtual events. A lot of venues, not venues, but businesses, they still need meetings. I think trade shows should come back, but at a much more reduced level, and probably, not till the middle of 2021.
Now, how about healthcare? That's a very important thing in your business, because I mean, everyone's trying to be safe, but there's always those unforeseen things that could impact a stagehand or whoever. And what's happening now? Is it still in full force, or are you having to find somewhere else?
One of the many benefits of being in a union. So we do have a union administered healthcare plan, and if you were in it back in I guess, let's say the March quarter, right? If you had the healthcare then, they've continued you at that current level. So they take it quarter by quarter. But I just got the letter today that January through the next quarter of 2021 will still be covered. So they've got they've got a big rainy day fund, and they're using it for our people. Now that doesn't cover everybody, and there's still gaps, but it's a major effort. And I know many people that have their employer's healthcare plan, and they've been furloughed and then finally fired, and there goes their healthcare.
Well, that's the benefit of a union. I've always been very pro-union, and there's one of the key sales point to why should you have a union. A lot of the politicians are trying to kill off union labor.
Oh yeah.
While you guys were talking, I was looking up the details of the Save Our Stages event. It starts tomorrow. It's from 5 to midnight, I think, for 3 nights, 16th through 18th, so Friday through Sunday. And I assume that there'll be a call for donations there.
Yeah, there's links to donate.
Cool.
I think too, it's a way to, it highlights some venues that are in danger, and then maybe if you are able to or choose to, those venues have merch. They might have takeout beverages or some kind of restaurant associated with them. So
cool.
It's the publicity aspect of it is good too. And the artists that are there, they're needing support too.
I drove past the Paramount the other day, which is, I'm not exactly sure what the ownership is there. Does the city own the Paramount?
No, there's an independent, it's a what is it? Austin Theater Alliance. Austin
Oh,
Theater
okay.
operates that in the state.
I was wondering about theaters like that that are kind of nonprofits and that have that kind of ownership set up, and whether, I mean, obviously they're not having shows either. What kinds of
Well,
things are they
they're
doing?
having movies. They're showing movies, and I do think they're in-person attendance at this point. I haven't explored it.
Yeah, I think
But,
for films, in-person attendance is okay. I'm not sure what percentage you're allowed. 50% maybe.
Yeah, that's the thing. And everybody's got to, everybody's got to decide whether they trust the venue to clean or not, and what's the level of exposure you're good with.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of, I mean, I've been out a lot more than I was, but not to go see any shows or anything, but it's getting pretty sloppy out there. I've noticed, I go in completely masked and gloved and everything if I have to go to a store or whatever, but I'm just noticing it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, and like, so, I just worry about that.
I found people that are saying, I'm over it a lot.
Well, we noticed we were driving the other day through the city. We had gone north for some reason. I can't remember. Oh yeah, to drop our ballots off. And we came back through downtown Austin and up South Congress. And I did notice that there were a lot of people out and a lot of them were not wearing masks. But then I saw that some were carrying masks with them. And I realized that people are feeling like if I'm outdoors, I'm not at much risk, so I'm not going to wear my mask. But if I go inside somewhere, I'll have the mask and I'll put it on.
Yeah. Kind of forgetting that, when you're outside and you're like jogging or something like that, you're not around a bunch of people. You see them in these throngs. I'm starting to notice the throngs again. And I'm like, you might want to think that through a little bit better. I mean,
I think there should be a regulation that says that people have to hold their breath when they jog.
Or just be in a bubble.
I just feel like it's so disrespectful, when I walk by someone and they don't have a mask on and they don't move away from me. I just want to say, well, you go to hell too, lady.
There was an interesting study that was in the news today that they studied, I forget how many thousand airline passengers, well, not simulated airline passengers using real jets, and they were dispersing virus throughout the cabin, and all the dummies they had in there had masks on, and they determined that it was way safer to ride in a fully loaded airplane than in a restaurant, which was, my mind kind of turned over at that one, but that's an interesting development.
It's the air recycling, Scoop.
Exactly. They have HEPA filters all over the place. Yeah, that's interesting, but restaurants don't.
The restaurants could actually, and I think some may be doing that. I recall seeing that somewhere. Well, but if you have a filtration system, a really good filtration system for the building itself, then that really improves the chance that you're going to pull the viruses out of the air and that they won't circulate as much.
Well, but the fact that like coal plants like fight to like not have to filter anything that they're spewing out, or factory, it's like, like unless you got deep pockets, who's going to retrofit? I mean,
Yeah, that's a real problem. Like in a theater, I'm sure you've experienced it, Bon. Some theaters are a little smelly, perhaps, because of not quite the modern, air filtration that you might expect in a modern building.
That's a lot of dust and debris in the air, but I don't know that it's historically viruses or mold or anything. But I mean, just the dust in the drapes and the cloth.
Yeah.
All them. There's a lot of dust there.
Unless it used to be like a porn theater, but that's probably like dissipated after all these years because we get it all online now, I guess.
It looks like CDC has standards for ventilation, COVID era ventilation in restaurants. I mean, I just kind of found this article and I haven't read it or anything like that, but
are we following that?
The
Oh.
CDC does a lot of things.
Yeah, who knows whether people are following
Yeah.
that.
I've been really curious about, like, I've caught wind or been invited to some things, that people have land like east of Austin, and they are trying to have these little get-togethers that aren't like the big festival thing. It's like people spread out 10 feet from one another, and there's a stage, and it's kind of like a, theater or music in the round. I'm kind of comfortable with that, right? If I know that, like, somebody I was talking to last night said, like, we're going to make we're not going to invite a ton of people. It's just going to be invite only. And we're going to have these specific bathrooms that are only for the women. No men can go into them. Right. So, just so there's none of the whatever, and like hyper sanitation, all that. I'm just curious how people are just getting creative with trying to foster that togetherness, because we're all hungry for it, just connecting and seeing music again, seeing theater new ways, perhaps, like the old, the Greek plays or something like, I don't know, and I'm just curious, you, Bon, being part of the burn community as well, it just like some of the things, just some of the creativity that's bubbling up, any thoughts that have been tossed around, some ideas.
Well, I do know, like, one event coming up at a brewery out a little bit east of town, and I don't know that I don't know what they're doing in terms of extra sanitation or safety or anything like that. And I don't mean to be negative, but my concern is always what people do when they drink.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know I talk loudly when I drink.
Yeah.
And I talk loudly, and then there's probably some, droplets and mist and various things spraying around. And
Vomit.
I'm always concerned about people lowering inhibitions as they're drinking and enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are socially responsible until that third beer, and then it's kind of goes downhill. I got a email actually from the Luck Reunion people who are supposedly going to be doing a long sitter socially responsible version of the Luck Reunion, Willie Nelson and family, and that would be interesting to see. But I'm just wondering how challenging it would be, and it's going to be on the lawn, not inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just had a friend mention to me last week that she'd gone to a birthday party, and everybody started out all respectful with the masks. And then by the end of the evening, people are draped all over each other. And, it's like, yeah, exactly.
I'm really seeing, so I'm thinking of, we talked about my anthropology and archaeological background and stuff like that before, and I'm still drawing on all that and everything I do. And right now I'm thinking about all the historical literature that we have about plagues and how people have dealt with it. And I'm mentioning Boccaccio's Decameron right now, okay, which basically starts out with some description of the plague, but then it's all these interesting stories that people have gone to a castle and told each other. So they got away. They found a way to get together and entertain themselves in a small group. So what I've done, and what several people I've known have done with all this spare time we have in our hands, is really pimp out our backyards. So I have nice little blinky lights, and I played the video game that was Prime Day, and I specially selected some more LED lights that were really cheap because I don't have any money, and they're not individually addressable, but I can control them with the app or the remote. And if they're not as waterproof as they say, you can return them. But people are trying these things out and finding interesting ways. I've got plants, and I have a nice wall, and there may be movie night for 4 different individual tables at my place with 5 different people, right? And you can come with your housemate that you've already been sheltering with, and you stay at your table, and the event doesn't last long enough that you need a porta potty.
Yeah. Well, I passed a I was going to take the dog for a walk a couple of weeks ago. I passed a house where they were projecting on the wall outside, and you could see that there were neighbors and they were way far apart, way far apart. It was great to see everybody's masked, you know,
Yeah.
and everybody's having a nice time. And that's the one thing that I'm loving seeing, at least in this neighborhood, which is very family centric, is that like in our cul-de-sac, you know, the kids are all being distanced, but they're all like outside. They're riding their bikes around, and the families are, you know, one family is on this side of the cul-de-sac in their chairs talking to the family on the other side of the cul-de-sac. It's like, oh my God, until COVID, I never saw anybody outside. I never saw anybody hanging out. It was always, you know, like cloistered in the hermetically sealed home, you know.
That's the only way you can do
yeah,
it safely.
yeah,
Sure.
but it's lovely though.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
great.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I am hoping towards and seeing is that's the new way of doing things, right? You know, maybe let's not figure a way to do what we used to do in
Mhm.
a way. Let's figure a new way to do something that's safe. And
Mhm.
you know,
Or go backwards and do drive-in theaters.
right? Maybe we could have a little play in the backyard, right?
Mhm.
And or some musicians have been traveling around and doing like, you know, well, they have a, you know, Patreon, right? So they have their subscribers, and I don't know whether they run a contest or how they do it, but you know, there's the artist and he's on your front door and he's serenading you and playing a couple songs for you from your porch, and you sit
Yeah.
it's on the driveway, and that seems like a good thing.
Yeah,
how-
so it reminds me of like remember in the Victorian era where they do tableaus, you know, it's like they have a little evening and somebody would play piano and sing, and then there'd be a tableau, and you know, like if you could, you know, that's the kind of creativity I love. It's like, you know, I love the idea of plays in the backyard because it feels like being a kid again, you know, like getting all excited and prep for it. And, you know, and like if there's a way to kind of shift the thinking of how the support happens, like you're saying, more Patreon focused, and yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, we have a number of people out in this area who have done house concerts for a long time, and they've just modified the venue and done what you've done, Bon, is open it up in the backyard or the front yard or wherever they can find a space. And you know, bring in, you know, and they're paying, you know, these artists to do it, and they're charging, you know, a few bucks at the door, but at least it's something, and it's a way to socialize, you know, responsibly and have good entertainment. Yeah, I like what you did, Bon. I may have to do that to my little forest out here. You know, dress all the squirrels in at least in Elizabethan costumes. Put some tinsel on all the deer's horns. I'll work on that.
You might try spray paint because you can get them while they run by.
Well, deer hunting season is coming up, so I may have to camouflage all my deer herd because I have a regular bunch of 5 or 6 deer that come for dinner every night.
Yeah, we got a ton here. Yeah, I've just been thinking about I've taken part in a few virtual conferences, right? And the production is abysmal. I'm like, wait a minute. These are like high-end companies, and you can't get, I mean, it's stuff that I could notice that I could do better. Not that I want to do it, but you know what I mean? It's not just the technology, it's you know, it seems like there's a lot of niche work there. And yeah, just saying.
So there's a curve to this,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was good. My Zoom is mirrored. I have a word there, you know. I have my bullfighter background. I didn't read that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I had to mirror it. So when I did my curve, I had to remember to go the other way, right? That's hard. So my point I'm trying to make is that the production values, I agree with you, are abysmal in some instances, but they're on a curve. And when this first hit, it's sort of like videography, right? Everybody thought they could make a home movie. And then we realized that just because you can make a home movie and put it on YouTube doesn't mean it's any good, and it doesn't mean anybody wants to watch it. And you're not actually a cinematographer. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I watched, I did just like what you said, Maggie. It was so easy to pick it apart, right? And I see these things, and I don't think that other people see them the way that we see them. And they're just, they're at their convention and they're watching, or at their meeting, and just like cleaning up what your background looks like, figuring out how to adjust your camera. We're all doing pretty good on the headroom. I leaned forward to make my point. There's my headroom a little better now. Trying to, adjust my rainbow dark wave. I'll show you that.
Yes.
So, you can work on your camera angle. You can work on all those things. And the time frame is such now that people have seen the bad, and they've seen some things that are done well. And we have the time on our hands. So some of us are able to, pimp our setup a little bit, and others need someone to help them do it. But how does that happen? We don't have the mechanics for that.
Well,
I can't do the house and do the lighting, right?
Well, what it reminds me of is, those of us who've done web development, I mean, I can't tell you how many gigs I get because somebody goes to do a Squarespace site or a Wix site, and then they're like, or even a WordPress site, and it's like, it looks like crap. Like, I thought it looked easy, but there's no kind of context and cohesive vision or whatever. And I mean, that's been my experience since forever, since I've been working on web stuff. But the same, I think you're onto something, and I wanted to bring that up because I keep telling friends of mine, find the niche, right? There's a million niches out there. Being able to coordinate and facilitate online meetings is an art, right? That we're starting to learn. That curve you're talking about too. You see that.
Yeah. There's production involved in a good meeting. It doesn't just together.
Yeah, so it's really fascinating how it's starting to bubble up, but that's what I'm trying to counsel various friends on. Like, don't lose heart. Like, let's figure out what your niche is, right? Making something like, I mean, you could do whole, I don't know, coursework or being able to facilitate and doing like you're saying, the backgrounds, the lighting, the making the impact. I'm just seeing all these possibilities. And one thing that's very exciting about this time is we've had everything pulled away. So we can't look, like you said earlier, can't look at it the same way. So what are some fun things we can do? Let's get creative with this. Because I don't see it. We're definitely not going to go back to something that was never there in the first place. Just saying.
Well, in real estate, the rule is location, location, location. In media, it's content, content, content. A lot of people have the great idea, but you have to have the content that's going to draw people into, pay attention to it. A lot of things I've seen online, it's like someone, well, yeah, I've got a computer and a camera. I'm going to be a star. And well, maybe.
Yeah, and being very creative in what I've been paying attention to too is I still see people trying. You probably see it on social media and everything, right? Like, buy my seminar and I'll teach you how to make $1 bazillion. And it's like they're still trapped in earlier this year, like where you did that marketing shtick and you have the long sales pitch page and all this bullshit that you're throwing out to people like buy, and and it's like, it's so inauthentic and almost like vomit inducing, given that everyone is going through so much hell right now. Like, that's another niche I see, is finding ways to teach or present. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying teach or present materials or, invite people into a different kind of learning experience through art or music or theater. Again, if that makes sense, it's this melange. I see it's all like in the air, but I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing a signal somewhere in there. of just a different approach to it, and different ways to make money, be taken care of, make the money to take care of yourself, not out of the system of, trying to hoard the wealth. I'm getting philosophical. I'll shut up now.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's happy hour.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's really hard to figure out. I mean, it's hard to figure out to get from here to there. We're looking around and we see things that are so completely screwed up right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we know that that things could be better than they are, but it's so hard to figure out exactly what the best path is there. And I think the challenge is to figure out what you yourself can do that would be a helpful step in the larger context of like society, of everybody, and try to help them all forward. And then that means you're also, I mean, if you really want to help society, you're kind of helping the people that are crazy right now, as well as the people who are still pretty sane, and try to get everybody moving in a direction that makes sense. And I don't know how to do it.
Well, since we're getting philosophical, one thing I've been doing is working on my nest, working on my home space, and making it more comfortable for others to come into in this weird way that they have to come in, through the side and into the backyard. And, that's different, right? So I don't have to pay attention to inside so much. And it's given me time to work with the plants and the gardening, and I'm taking care of another house, and that's garden. And I have a lizard I'm watching, and he comes to visit every once in a while. My little striped lizard, and I saw him today, and he's bigger every day.
Aw.
So that's what happens when you water. But the point I'm making is that a Tai Chi teacher I can say I had two very good Tai Chi teachers, and many good teachers, but this one Tai Chi teacher here in Austin said to me at one point that he used to think that it was important to spend time with his students. And he would spend time with his students and he would listen to their stories and try and help them with their problems. And then he realized, and he didn't go into how he realized this. This is like, you don't get a lot of this kind of person's time. So it's a little nutshell, right? And so he said, then I realized that it was more important I spent time on myself. Because if I spent time on myself, then I would be better able to give of myself. I'd be in a better position to help other people. Mm-hmm. So I think that's maybe why I'm nesting and working on my place here at home, because then I have a whole lot more bandwidth to deal with all the nonsense outside. I'm more patient with people because I come home and I know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I have my base. And you guys know that the last few years I've been on the road, and not on the road like the same thing over and over again, but perhaps the even more stressful thing of out 10 days to a different city, home for sometimes 2 days, but usually 10 days, and then out somewhere else for 10 to 14 days, and then out somewhere else to 10 to 14 days, a new problem and a new hotel in a new city every time. Mm-hmm. So it's loads of fun, but there's no time to water the lawn or take care of whether you did the laundry or cleaned your desk off at home or anything. Mm-hmm. So
and the lizard.
I got a lot of projects,
mm-hmm.
right? But it's, I'm more patient when I'm home and my world is in order. I'm just more patient and able to deal with chaos outside. So I hope other people are taking time and not feeling mm-hmm. bad about, extra cleaning days and making their own space pretty.
And I like how you use the word nesting, because I use that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's safe. I may not know where everything is, but I know I have it.
Well, I mean, when was the last time you or so many of us can say we were able to do that?
Right. No,
mm-hmm.
but this staycation is getting old. Right?
You've done enough knitting and quilting to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
But we have actually left and gone to some places. We spent a couple of days at the beach, which was very interesting and not, it didn't feel particularly dangerous. We didn't feel that there was much chance of exposure in the way things were set up. And we actually went to a restaurant and ate, but we were like sitting outside. The wind was blowing. No virus had any chance of getting anywhere near us because the wind was going to just blow it away. And we went to, I think it was Fredericksburg one day to meet some other family members. And, you know, they were doing for somebody's birthday down there. And I was really nervous about it and concerned about it. But again, it felt pretty safe. Most people were wearing masks. Or once they sat down, you know, you go to a winery or something, people would be sitting there drinking wine. They wouldn't have their mask on. We went to Wimberley and had met some people for lunch there. And again, people were wearing masks and everything really did seem kind of okay. And, you know, for months and months, we would not go anywhere. We wouldn't even dream of going anywhere. And now we're kind of finding ourselves going out and occasionally doing something. And every time we're going to do it, I have this like whole anxiety thing that goes on. And then once we get there, it kind of feels okay. So maybe we have figured it out well enough that we really can start leaving the house more and doing some things. But the question is, what is really safe to do? And how can you get yourself to a point where you don't feel concerned that you're going to have some kind of exposure just by doing something fairly simple, you know, just by going to a grocery store or a restaurant or something?
Yeah, you have to choose your your venue. Really,
Yeah.
you definitely don't want to be going to a big crowded bar, and I think raves are out for the time being. And so you have to know who the people are, what kind of people are going to be there, and what the the environment is, and then it might be safe. But there's a lot of unsafe behavior that I see traveling around in my limited area.
Well, when I moved my daughter Hunter to New Mexico in July, we made we made sure that we weren't, so we, got curbside and got all our food ahead of time. So it was like picnic city, right? So wherever we'd stop at a rest stop or whatever, and we had gloves and masks and all that. And we were going to stop the first night in Roswell, but New Mexico has been more on top of it than Texas has. And they had the 14-day quarantine. And I was actually talking to the innkeeper, and I didn't want to, he was trying to send me messages in code, like he thought it would be okay, because I didn't want to get him in trouble, because somebody can call you out if you're not quarantining, and they can call out the innkeeper kind of thing. At least it was that way at that time. And I just didn't want to put him in jeopardy, because he's from another country. And given the political climate right now, I didn't want to like add any possible anything. So we decided to stay in Lubbock, because Lubbock, it's Texas. And, they didn't care. But we were like super careful. And then, it was a lot of communication with the people, where we were going, like with the hotel. I was asking them what their protocols were. And then after I moved my daughter, I was staying at an Airbnb in Abiquiu, and I was in constant contact with the gal. She had a whole protocol of 72 hours in between guests, super clean, like really, it was a sense of conscientiousness. So, and the distance. So we didn't go into it. We were fearful at first, but we didn't go into that too heavily. So I think there's something in that. It's just the conscientiousness, the presence, the willingness to work with where you're going just a little. But I got back, and knock on wood, I've been quarantined for a couple of months now, and I seem to be okay. So, well, COVID related wise, but
I haven't been
How you
anywhere.
doing?
I haven't been anywhere.
And
I haven't gone.
how you doing with it?
I'm fine. I am totally fine. I've got I've got my dog.
Mm-hmm.
We take a walk. We're fine. I mean, you know, here this is, right? This is how I communicate with my friends, and it's fine. I see my parents and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I haven't been in a store. I haven't been in anything since this started. I'm fine. I really don't. I have a lot of friends. I just don't miss them in a way.
You kiss those friends goodbye
That's
now.
not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Facebook unfriend. There we go. Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing. Some people can really do it. I mean, I could sit here forever, you know. I mean, I'm kind of okay. I've got what I need at the house, and I don't really have to go out. But Marcia wants to travel, and she wants to go places all the time, and she's going a little stir crazy. And I just have to respect that, you know. And I'm trying to get myself into the frame of mind where I can go places with her. I would not have gone down to the beach for 3 days, you know, but if she didn't get out of the house, there were going to be these deep scratches in the walls. And I certainly didn't want that to happen. So we went down there and it was okay. But I think that's it. I mean, I think that some people are much more challenged than others by this thing of staying in one place under one roof much of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm perfectly fine in my little technology womb here. You know, Clarissa has to occasionally come with her stun gun and chase me out. But, you know, I've done this so much that I'm just fine. You know, I just have my toys here. I have a microphone to talk into and people to communicate with. And until the stun gun comes, I have to stick around in here.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing Radio Free Plutopia all the time. So,
Yeah, you are too.
yeah, that
Yeah,
takes our time.
let's pimp. No, let's not.
I think you should have. I'm sorry, you guys. I have to listen one of them. Every time I go to listen, something distracts me. I promise I will. But I think Bon would be a good guest DJ-a-mabob or whatever.
DJ-a-mabob.
Hey, bring it on. Bring
Yeah.
it on.
I've got a vast catalog.
Mm-hmm. Very, very eclectic, and yeah, I have fond memories of Bon's playlists at various functions. So I must say,
there's some restrictions on what we can play, in that it has to be something that we have in our library.
Yeah, I've got 11,000 songs in mine, so I might be able to provide you with some of your usuals, but we can work things out.
Yeah.
But yeah, John and I have fun with it, and those of you who intended to listen to realize the magic screen over here does have IP tracking to where I know if you came or not, and for how long, and I have your blood type and your DNA sample.
Yeah, we've been taking names.
Assuming that's in my IP.
Say again?
Assuming that's actually my IP and not my offshore router.
Yes.
Okay, you're bouncing off one of the data havens.
So speaking of music, who are you listening to these days, Bon? Is there a musical artist or artists that are really floating your boat right now?
DP Express.
DP Express.
African music.
Right on.
That's crazy fun.
Okay.
That's a new one. Well, that's not new one. That's new in my list.
Mm-hmm.
What else am I listening to? I listen to now I'm stumped, right?
Yeah, I'm listening to this new guy, Mahler. You know, well, it's new if you haven't listened to it before. You know, anything is new to the uninformed.
Let's take a quick look at this little phone thing here and see what
Look at see what's been in heavy rotation on there.
Digby Vermouth.
Digby Vermouth?
Vermouth, yeah. You need to try that out.
Okay. Oh wow, right on.
That appears to be a drink. Now, wait a minute. Big B, as in the letter B?
Digby, D-I-B,
Digby.
D-I-G-B-Y, yeah.
Digby vermouth. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Supernova Dreamsicle.
Yeah, try that.
That's classical, isn't it?
More, you'll like that.
Well, that's terrific. Scoop already knows this, but I discovered I had in 1972, I went to a concert at the Hollywood Bowl that was Creed Taylor put on. He had a label called CTI Records, and a bunch of jazz artists recorded for it. So I went to that concert, and you know, it was one of the greatest concerts I ever went to, but it never even occurred to me that there might have been a recording of it. But in fact, there was a 2-volume recording released on vinyl at some point, and I didn't have that. Scoop actually has it, and I also discovered that it's on YouTube. And it's like, wow,
wow, that's awesome. So do you have a Victrola or some kind of like retro-fi setup for your backyard, Bon?
I got this. Who knows what this is?
That's a CD, but a mini one.
Oh, MD did. Yes.
It's a little tiny CD.
You're doing the retro thing now.
Wow.
That's a mini disc.
I've seen
That's
them.
Best of the 90s right there.
Yeah.
that would double as a coaster.
I'll show you what I'm doing right here. I've got one of these things right here.
I
Anybody
got
remember?
several
And I have
of
a pencil
those.
that I use to rewind it.
This
Nice.
is easily recordable and rewritable.
So
Right
this,
on.
Yeah, but can you fix it with Scotch tape?
You
yeah.
don't have to. It's bomb proof. Yeah, it's so yeah, they're just wonderful. They're wonderful. So that's how I record.
Well, with that in mind, I've always known you as a consummate finder of really cool old tech. If you found something really cool recently that, or maybe in your own stores of things that you're rediscovering, or
An oil lamp slide projector.
oh wow,
Wow.
Slides, an oil lamp slide projector. Yes.
right on.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm almost afraid to light it up, but we're gonna use it.
Oh,
my
man,
God.
that'd be yeah.
It's
I
kind of a-
remember in
You need to live stream
yeah,
that.
totally. That'd be great.
I
These
definitely want to see the demo.
State Sale also had a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue that they were trying to sell too.
Right on.
Not what you could buy at the
Wow.
liquor store. I didn't buy that. I bought the oil lamp though.
Yeah,
I
one of
might
my
have already used the oil lamp had you bought the Johnny Walker
Yeah.
as well.
I have a vivid memory of this is early 90s being in Vesuvio's in San Francisco upstairs, and they had a old paraffin lamp or, you know, paraffin projector. And I was getting like the fumes of the paraffin. Just like, I was like hallucinating because of that and whatever I was drinking and whatever they were projecting on the wall. It was brilliant. And it was the first time I'd kind of experienced people going with the retro stuff, and it was like, okay, my world is complete. I love this stuff. So
Thanks for that tip on the paraffin.
Well, I had a friend that was a lighting designer in the Bay Area, and he collected old gear, and he had gobos that were used in early, I don't know if it's a medieval or just early 1900s porn. They were gobos that projected, you know, onto a screen with naughty people, you know, women showing some knee, and it was the
Oh my
strangest thing.
God.
And
This-
he was using his lighting gear to try to recreate it, but it just wasn't the same.
No.
Children watch this.
can we do a special edition with like Bon's like lamp, and then, you know, reach out to your friend Scoop, and we'll just do like weird. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
We
Yeah,
do.
we're down to the
This-
wire now. We have to end in 1 minute. And
Hey.
Don, will you come back sometime?
I will.
It's
You're
been
always
fun,
welcome.
hasn't it?
And Bon, I happen to have a bag full of projection screen material you left behind. And if you ever want to
Really?
recreate your movie,
Yeah.
All right. That's good. I'll come and get that. Let me give you one more band
Artist?
to go for.
Right on.
Yeah. The Sound Stylistics.
The sound stylistics.
Stylistics, yeah. There you go.
Right on.
Excellent.
Thank you.
everybody take a bow. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a blast.
Thanks, Bon.
Bye, y'all.
See you around.
Later,
Good news.
Tater.
All right. We'll see everybody next time. Here we go.